Revealed, 5 bone-chilling tales of taxi drivers and their haunting nightmares. Unexplained. Jake, Double J. Johnson leaned back in his worn seat, the flickering neon lights reflecting off his windshield like winking eyes. The late-night streets of Philadelphia were alive with secret stories hidden in the shadows, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. The city's heartbeat pulsed through his taxi, a metal cage full of ghosts from his army days and the faces of lost souls who slipped in and out of his cab. Each fare carried the eerie weight of past traumas and whispered urban legends that rattled the heart and chilled the spine. That night, a heavy fog rolled through the back alleys, wrapping the city in a thick shroud. Jake spotted her just outside a rundown bar, a woman clad in black, her gaze hollow and piercing. "Get in," he mumbled, his tone flat, the kind of emptiness that hinted at deeper scars. The door slammed shut behind her, shutting out the world, and an unsettling silence fell over the cab. She turned to him, eyes locking with his, and it felt like she was peeling back layers of skin, revealing his wounds. "I know you, Jake," she whispered, her voice a ghostly caress. "You can't hide." His heart raced as paranoia seeped into his veins. Who was she? The city had been a constant player in his nightmares, but this felt like a scene straight out of horror. Before he could shake off the dread, they passed another cab. Inside was Maria, a frazzled single mother, gripping the wheel like it might fly away. She glanced in her rearview mirror, her face contorted in fear. "There's something back there," she shouted. Jake caught a glimpse of Malik, a college kid in another cab, his face haunted, anxiety spilling over like the coffee in his cup. "I chased a phantom vehicle," he exclaimed, voice trembling as his eyes darted around. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As they drove deeper into the gloom, the peculiar connections between their stories became undeniable. They decided to meet at an old diner, stains of history adorning the walls, where they unravel the threads of despair that tied them all. Memories and shadows collided in that diner. One of them mentioned a twisted tale of a crime that never got solved, a legacy like teeth gnashing at their heels, spitting back regret and sorrow. Confronted with their shared vulnerabilities, the air thickened with urgency. Who were they, really? It felt like their fears conspired against them and shadows morphed into monsters as fragments of their lives paraded in front of them. Just when they felt a glimmer of solidarity, Jake's heart dropped. There she was again, the woman in black, her voice a haunting echo weaving through their minds. "You can't run from what's woven into your very soul." That chilling reminder felt like icy fingers curling around his chest. Shadows flickered, mingling with the first light of dawn, and Jake felt the walls of the diner close in on him. Would he face the darkness lurking within him, or would it consume them all like so many lost souls before? Jake could feel the diner's fluorescent lights flicker ominously above him, their raw buzz cutting through the oppressive air. He knew they had to talk, to make sense of the madness enveloping them. One by one, they shared their stories, fragments of terror that clawed at their sanity. Maria spoke first, her voice shaking. "It started a few weeks ago. I picked up a fare late at night. He seemed normal enough until he started talking about things. Dark things." She swallowed hard. "He said he was being hunted. I thought it was just a story, but I swear, something felt off." Her eyes darted to the window, as if the fog itself was listening. Malik leaned in, his face pale, sweat glistening on his brow. "I dropped off a girl at City Hall last week. She never made it home. The news was all over it. They found her body 2 days later in a park, the same park I drive past every night." There was a crack in his voice. "One of my friends said she saw something. No, someone standing over her. I swear, it looked just like the woman you two are talking about." Jake's heart thumped relentlessly in his chest. All their fears were tangling together, knitting a fraying tapestry of dread. Just as he opened his mouth to share his own burden, the diner's door swung open, allowing in a gust of icy wind. And there she stood, the woman in black, her presence magnetic and terrifying. "I told you," she whispered, her breath curling around the others like fog. "You can't hide from what's woven into your soul." Everyone froze. The weight of dread settled over the group, stifling their voices. The woman came closer, her movements languid and deliberate, like a shadow gliding over the floor. Jake instinctively backed away, bumping into the edge of the table. "What do you want?" he managed to choke out, fear scraping against his throat. "Your stories have already brought you together," she replied, her eyes shimmering with an unnatural light. "But they are also your prison. You think sharing tales of your horrors will free you? They will only draw you in deeper." The panic in the room throbbed, making the air almost unbreathable. Maria leaned back, her chair creaking in protest, but her eyes were still glued to the woman. "What does that mean?" "We're just talking." "Talking?" The woman echoed, her voice smooth yet jagged. "You speak in riddles. I have lived through your stories. Each of you carries a piece of a greater nightmare, burdens that bind you even tighter. And now, your lives are about to intertwine in ways you cannot fathom." With a wave of her hand, the lights overhead flickered again, plunging the diner into darkness for a heartbeat. Whispers seemed to seep through the walls, echoing the fears they had shared, morphing them into something tangible, a presence they could almost feel clawing at their backs. "Who will be next?" she murmured, her lips curling into an eerie smile. "The past doesn't just haunt us. It hunts us." Jake could barely breathe as thoughts swirled in his mind, spinning into a dreadful melody of possibilities. Was it true? Were they all part of something much larger? And before the chaos could settle in, the door slammed shut, sealing them inside. The diner was now prison and sanctuary, a fragile confine where secrets echoed like the tolling of a ghostly bell. Desperate, Jake grasped his phone. "We need to get out of here," he said, but the words felt hollow. Suddenly, the lights flickered back on, revealing the woman standing even closer now, her expression inscrutable, as if trying to decide their fates. "Your next moves will determine everything," she whispered, and the shadows behind her danced in unnatural delight. Jake couldn't shake the feeling that the clock was ticking, that whatever game they were caught in was just beginning and time was rapidly running out. Who was the real enemy here? And as the woman's gaze pierced through him, he realized the question hung heavy in the air: had they all unwittingly become players in a dark saga far beyond their comprehension? The atmosphere thickened, charged with something potent and sinister, as Jake locked eyes with the woman. She seemed to absorb the energy in the room, her smile widening, as if savoring the turmoil swirling within each of them. "Do you truly think you can escape?" she asked, a hint of mockery lacing her words. "Tell me, Jake, what horrors do you harbor that you believe you can unravel by running?" His hands trembled around his phone, knuckles pale. I don't know what you want from us," he shouted, fear making his voice break. The woman's laughter echoed, low and chilling, reverberating off the diner's walls. "You're right to be afraid. But that fear is only the beginning." Malik bit his lip, looking between the woman and his friends. "What are you?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Why are you doing this to us?" She stepped closer, the light catching the strange glint in her eyes. "I'm a mirror, my dear. A reflection of the shadows you try to bury deep inside. All the nightmares you've experienced, they are not mere tales. They are threads that connect you to an unseen web. What you fail to understand is that the darkness isn't just in your past. It's here, now, closing in." Maria shifted in her chair, her breath hitching. "So, we did this to ourselves?" "Ah, yes," the eager student. The woman's voice dripped with sarcasm. "Your stories have manifested a reality within this very space. You are the architects of your own suffering, and I merely guide you as you delve deeper. Jake's heart raced. We need to end this. We can't be complicit in whatever game you're playing. Game? She echoed, eyes twinkling with malicious glee. No, dear Jake. It's not a game, it's survival. Each of you must confront your past, face it, or be consumed by it. The lights flickered again, casting draped shadows across their faces. Jake felt a piercing chill crawl up his spine. He glanced around the table. Maria was trembling, Malik's jaw was set, and fear danced in the corners of their eyes. Look at your fears, the woman whispered, her voice weaving seamlessly through the gathering silence. What lurks in the dark? What consequence did your apathy bring to life? With that, reality began to shift. The diner's walls seemed to pulse, breathing in synchronization with their mounting horror. The windows darkened until all they saw was blackness. And then, those stories, those fears, they materialized. A form emerged, ghastly and twisted, clinging to the shadows. It resembled the girl Malik had lost, her spirit distorted and reaching out with frozen fingers. The atmosphere grew thick with dread that clawed at their throats. Malik! Maria screamed, her breath catching. The figure floated nearer, anguished eyes fixed on him, though it whispered no names. The air chilled with mourning, memories and guilt swirling like a tempest. Make it go away. Malik shouted, leaning back against his chair, panic seeping through the cracks of his composed facade. Only you can dissolve the shadows you've birthed. Each of you must stand firm, the woman commanded, amusement flickering just beneath her calm surface. Jake stood, clenched fists trembling. We can't just let this happen. There has to be a way to, but the diner itself shuddered, the very building screaming as a chorus of deep growls echoed from the dark. The presence around them vibrated with resentful anguish, the air heavy with confrontation. Who will confront their darkness first? The woman taunted, her voice weaving through the din of despair. A question loomed: would they take the next step? A choice hung heavily in the silence that followed, as both fear and resolve warred within each of them. And as Jake felt the weight of their intertwined fates, he realized one thing: the truth would demand a sacrifice. What were they willing to give to escape the darkness? Who among them would step forward to unleash their truth? The shadows twisted in the dim light of the diner, pulsing with a rhythm that matched the thumping of Jake's heart. The figure of Malik's lost love loomed closer, hovering just at the edge of his vision, urging him to confront the truth he had spent years running from. Jake felt the weight of the woman's gaze, a heavy blanket of expectation draping over him. Malik, you have to face her, Maria blurted, voice cracking, desperation threading through her words. You can't let her consume you. But Malik's eyes were glassy, an inner storm raging behind his calm facade. I can't. It hurts too much. He gasped, his voice strangled by panic. The specter opened her mouth in a silent scream, agony etched into her ethereal face. As if in response, the diner warped and trembled. Plates rattled, and the scent of burnt coffee filled the air, potent and bitter, an echo of memories long buried. The woman leaned back casually, crossing her arms, watching the chaos unfold with a satisfied gleam in her eyes. This is just the beginning. What you see is merely a reflection of what you've suppressed. Each of you, she waved her hand dismissively, will soon be confronted. Are you ready to face what you've ignored? Suddenly, the air shifted, heavier and colder. The very walls seemed to echo the whispers of secrets long kept hidden. Maria gripped her chair, nails digging into the wood, her breathing erratic. What if we don't want to? She pleaded. The woman tilted her head, unveiling a sly smile, her words like honey dipped in poison. But you must. All stories culminate in confrontation. And you have invited me to be your guide on this journey. With that challenge hanging in the air, the shadows around them coiled tighter, the diner warping into a grotesque mirror of their fears. Jake clenched his teeth, heart pounding. We can't waste time. We need to find a way out. Only by confronting your past can the door open, the woman sang, her voice silky but laced with a haunting malice. "This is the only escape, but first, someone must step forward. Will it be you?" Her gaze locked onto Jake, simmering with anticipation that he swallowed hard, the lump in his throat almost choking him. The weight of the moment clung to him like a fog. "I can't," he stammered, pushing against an invisible barrier. "I want tea." "Then let it consume you," she hissed, and the shadows thickened, swirling around his friends. Malik's breath hitched, and he stood abruptly, fear battling against grief. "I can't hide anymore," he shouted. "I'll face her." The diner shuddered, as if acknowledging the toll of his words. The figure of the girl abruptly lunged toward Malik, her face twisting with confusion and hurt. "Why did you leave me?" she screamed, though no sound escaped her lips. Malik staggered back, a whirlwind of emotions crashing over him. "I didn't mean to. I thought I could save you." He closed his eyes tightly. "I never wanted to lose you." The woman smiled, a ripple of satisfaction crossing her face. "See? This is what it means to confront one's demons. You must face the pain, Malik. Only then can you find peace." But as Malik stepped forward, Jake grabbed his arm. "Wait. What if this is a trap?" "No." Malik insisted, shaking off his grip. "I have to do this." The atmosphere thickened, charged with his resolve. Jake felt the air crackle, the diner pulsating with energy as Malik moved toward the girl. "I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand." Her icy fingers brushed against his skin, sending an electrifying chill through him. The air thickened with sorrow, and suddenly everything went dark. "What will happen next?" Jake whispered, panic rising in his chest, the scene dissolving into nothingness. A blinding light flickered, and the woman's voice sliced through the air once more. "Are you willing to pay the price? The truth comes with a sacrifice." And as the darkness crept back in, one question lingered, vibrating in the silence that followed: what else were they hiding, and who would pay the price to face it? The darkness enveloped them, a thick veil that pressed hard against their chests. Jake's hands trembled as he fought against the feeling of helplessness. The air crackled with tension, not merely charged but alive. Suddenly, a blinding light erupted, illuminating the diner in an unsettling glow. The shadows danced like frantic phantoms, chaotically swirling around them. Amid the chaos, Malik's silhouette could still be seen, a solitary figure at the crossroads of decision, trembling under the weight of remembrance. "Malik!" Jake shouted, trying to pierce through the haze. "Don't do this." But the woman's laughter, chilling and melodic, echoed around them. "Let him go, Jake. He must bear the weight of his choices. Only through the fire can he find his way." Tension bound them tighter, and Malik turned towards Jake, a desperate plea in his eyes misted with grief. "If I don't face this, she'll haunt me forever." Before Jake could respond, the ghostly figure surged forward, her expression burning with a mixture of rage and longing. "You abandoned me. You thought you could find peace without me." A storm of emotions unleashed, swirling more treacherously than the shadows themselves. Malik staggered back, guilt tearing at him, but then his courage roared back. "I loved you." At that moment, the diner flickered, shifting dimensions, the booths and tables warping into nightmarish visages from Malik's past. Each flicker revealed echoes of moments, laughter shared, promises whispered, and the bleak aftermath of a love that had turned tragic. "Face it," the woman commanded with an imposing authority. "Relive the moment you ran from." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted as they found themselves standing in the very scene Malik feared most, a rain-soaked street where time stood still. Malik's heart pounded in despair as he saw the ghost of his lover's final moments play out before him. "Why didn't you come back?" Her voice stung, dripping with disappointment. "Because I couldn't. I thought it was for the best." He shook visibly, distressed. "I was wrong. So terribly wrong." The diner trembled again, the walls echoing with the weight of his confession. Maria and Jake watched, fear etched on their faces, every word drawing them into Malik's suffocating reality. "Will you unbury the truth now?" The woman moved closer, a viper waiting to strike. "What price will you pay for redemption? Are you willing to shed parts of yourself to right the wrongs?" An uneasy silence settled as Malik grappled with this truth. He could either succumb to the guilt or find a way to confront it, but the consequences gripped him fiercely, tightening their hold with every harsh breath. "Malik. You can't," Jake began, but the shadows around them were thickening. Even he could feel the seductive pull of the woman's promises, the allure of facing all fears was intoxicating within the crescendo of dread. Malik's voice softened, overshadowed by an urgency that surged within him. Perhaps the only way to escape this torment is to expose every regret." With one decisive step forward, the energy in the diner shifted violently, the very foundations shaking under the weight of what he chose to confront. As the specter of his lost love advanced towards him, the diner echoed with ominous whispers, enveloping them all. "Will you free yourself, Malik, or drown in your sorrow?" And as the darkness began to reclaim the diner once more, reality shook around them, leaving one haunting question unanswered: who among them would sacrifice their freedom to face the darkest part of themselves? Malik took a deep, shuddering breath, determination igniting a flicker of light in his chest. Shadows swirled, whispering tales of regret as they twisted around him. With every step toward the ghost, memories clung to him, pulling him back as if the past had claws digging into his skin. "I'm sorry," he breathed, each word sharp with pain. The woman halted, her eyes ablaze with an intensity that bore straight into his soul. "Sorry won't save you, Malik. What will you do to right your wrongs?" Jake and Maria stood frozen, the energy in the diner buzzing like an electric current. Maria's blue eyes darted between Malik and the apparition with a mix of fear and sympathy. "Malik, you don't have to face this alone," she shouted, but her voice felt thin, drowned out by the heavy sorrow that enveloped them. "Don't you see?" Malik said, desperation creeping into his voice. "I do have to face it. It's the only way to break free." The visceral energy shifted again, vibrating beneath their feet. The diner's walls buckled, distorting as though reality itself were tearing apart at the seams. Ghostly figures danced along with the shadows, their hollow eyes fixed on the trio. Faces from the past, friends, family, even acquaintances drifted through the void, all tracing back to Malik's choice. "Why now?" The woman's voice was a hiss, serpentine and smooth. "Why not when it mattered? You let me drown in your silence." Malik could almost feel the cold touch of her specter lengthen, wrapping around him. Gulping hard, he forced himself to meet her gaze. "I thought I was saving you. I thought leaving would make it easier." But it didn't. As the storm of memories swirled tighter, he glimpsed their last moments together, the laughter on sun-drenched days, the whispered secrets beneath falling stars, and then the ominous night his decision tore them apart. A ripple of confusion stirred within him. What was it he hadn't seen? Could it be that he had misjudged the very nature of love? The energy thickened like fog, and the diner felt more like a prison. "I was a coward," Malik shouted, a rawness spilling from his heart. "I did run. I didn't give you the chance you deserved." The shadows twisted, a cacophony of whispers sweeping through the air, merging with the sound of rain that began to patter against the diner's roof, a familiar, haunting sound that linked him directly to that fateful night. It was almost as if time had looped back, remapping every decision he'd ever made in intricate patterns of pain. "Will you choose to fight for her? For this love you let slip away?" The woman asked, her voice now echoing deeper, resonating with something buried in his very being. "Or will you remain a shadow of your true self?" Malik's heart clenched. Each second stretched long and eternal, and his chest constricted as he weighed the heavy question. "What if I lose everything again?" "Sometimes you have to lose to really live," she whispered, a dark promise coiling around them. The diner trembled like a living thing, the light flickering eerily. Jake reached out, but every sound felt muted, like they were trapped behind a thick pane of glass. Malik. His voice strained. You might not survive this. Sometimes surviving isn't enough. Malik roared, taking another step toward the wraith-like figure that was both captivating and horrifying. As he did, a deep fissure cracked the once solid diner floor, a chasm tugging at the edges of their reality. Malik realized it was a fracture, an opening to the truth lying deep within his regrets. But would he leap? The air crackled again, and someone screamed a piercing sound that shattered the atmosphere. Eyes widened, breath halted. Shadows closed in, and Malik felt the rush of wind as he braced himself. Will you be brave enough to set the past free? Or will you slip into the abyss? As the rift widened, revealing a swirling darkness that beckoned beneath them, Malik faced the ultimate choice. And the weight of 1,000 regrets bore down upon him. With that, he took a step forward, heart racing, words unspoken hanging in the air like ghosts waiting for release. What lay on the other side? Would there be redemption or only despair? And as the gaping maw of darkness yawned wider, looming over them, the chilling question echoed, a tightening noose around each soul present. What awaited Malik in the depths, and would anyone emerge unscathed? The darkness surged around Malik like a living creature. It pulsed and writhed, licking at his heels, a hungry entity eager to swallow him whole. He felt the weight of the world lifted for just a moment, the smothering ache of guilt boiling just beneath the surface, battling for supremacy against the flicker of hope that ignited inside him. Malik! Maria shouted, her voice breaking through like a beacon, momentarily cutting through the oppressive void. The fear in her eyes pierced through the haze, and he felt an echo of the love he had once been too afraid to embrace. Don't let it take you. Jake stood rooted to the spot, fists clenched, his face a mask of disbelief. You can't do this. He shouted, though his voice trembled. We can find another way. Can we? Malik shot back the question, his voice strained and almost lost. How many more times do I have to run from the truth? How many more lives will be wrecked by my silence? The apparition's eyes blazed with an ancient anguish that twisted inside him. He was teetering on the edge of decision, the darkness roared, beckoning him to plunge into it, clutching at his ankles with whispers of facilitated escape. He was teetering on a brink he never thought he'd face again. Do it. The spirit urged, her voice echoing around them, mingling with the whispers that rose like steam from the surface of boiling water. You want to make it right. Face the shadows, and let them go. Malik closed his eyes tightly, fighting against the flood of memories that danced in front of him. Every moment lost, every choice unmade, they poured forth like water from a cracked dam. He opened his eyes again, fire burning deep within. As the shadows stretched toward him, he took a breath sharp as glass. I choose to leap, he declared, each word steadying him against the chaos swirling around. The ground shook violently as the fissure beneath him widened, revealing depths that seemed to glow with a sickly luminescence. For a heart-stopping moment, he felt the pull of the abyss tugging at his very core, and he knew he had to jump. With one final gaze at Maria and Jake, he leaped forward into the unknown, shouts of warning cascading behind him like an echoing choir of alarm. The darkness enveloped him completely, and as he fell, he felt an almost euphoric lightness merging with the sensation of suffocating dread that he found himself suspended in a vast void. Light flickered in and out, revealing fractured memories and haunting, distorted realities of the people he had hurt. Each figure seemed to reach out to him, a mix of anguish and longing reflected in their gazes. It felt surreal, as if time had wrapped around him like a sickening lullaby, dragging him deeper. Who are you? A voice came from the shadows, deep and echoing. It was unfamiliar yet condescending, almost mocking. Show me the truth. Malik shouted, desperation and raw emotion seeping from his voice. Suddenly, images played out around him, a montage of moments he had long buried. The laughter of friends dashed with pain, the joy of love paved with regret. Each face flickered in and out of existence, reliving those heart-wrenching moments just beyond his grasp. Do you wish to uncover the depths of your cowardice? The voice echoed again, reverberating against the emptiness. Or will you choose to remain here, forever a shadow, forever haunted. Malik's heart raced as he realized this was no mere descent into despair, it was a trial. A chance to truly confront the ghosts that had haunted him all these years, a chance to confront himself, but in the swirling chaos, Malik felt just as lost as before. The fear of what he might find surged like a tidal wave, and he found himself wondering if facing the shadows meant embracing the worst parts of himself. Would he crumble under the weight of history, or could he finally break free and grant the souls he had wronged the release they deserved? Time ticked away in the fractured realm, tightening around him like a noose. The darkness shimmered, beckoning him forward, but the question hung heavy in the air. What was the price of truth? With every heartbeat resonating in the silence, Malik took a breath, steadying himself against the fear. An answer awaited him at the edge, but would it lead to his redemption, or plunge him deeper into despair? The darkness around him suddenly pulsated, and the voice whispered once more, "What do you fear most? For therein lies your answer." The shadows pulsed violently, each heartbeat echoing like a war drum in the void. Malik's chest tightened as the malicious voice pressed in on him, drawing forth the echoes of his past. "What do I fear most?" he murmured to himself, confusion swirling within him. The words felt like a challenge, and deep down, he knew the truth of it. It was always the same, the fear of facing his failures, the fear of opening the very floodgates he had sealed for so long. As the images flickered faster, he saw images ripple with clarity. There was his childhood friend, Lucas, laughing in the park, but then it twisted into a memory of pain, the last moment they had shared when Malik had let him down. He had chosen to walk away rather than defend him. "Forgive me, Lucas." Malik screamed into the void, desperation clawing at his throat. The darkness shivered as if reacting to his plea, and for a moment, he thought he felt a flicker of light within it, a tiny glimmer of hope. "Forgiveness comes at a price," the voice taunted, wrapping around him like chains. "Are you ready to pay it?" He felt the tremor of revelation course through him. This was no mere confrontation, it was a reckoning. Each unresolved memory fought to resurface, a battle between guilt and a yearning for redemption. Malik clenched his jaw. "I'm done running." The shadows recoiled, warping like smoke dispersing in the wind. The weight of his past thrummed around him, dense and suffocating, yet he sensed a glimmer of strength building inside. The specters of his past waited expectantly, their faces a mix of sorrow and anticipation. "Show me," he demanded, his voice rising above the cacophony around him. "I'm ready to face it all." And with that declaration, the shadows surged forward, swirling violently, plunging him into scenes he had buried deep in his heart. He was thrust into a chaotic memory where words were weapons and screams were echoes of betrayal. He saw Maria, tears streaming down her face, as he left without explanation. The regret was a physical blow, it knocked the wind from him. He felt his knees buckle as he remembered the moments he had chosen indifference over love. "Why did I let you down?" he gasped. The anguish in his voice reverberated in the emptiness. "Because you were afraid," came the voice, smoother now, almost sympathetic. "And fear drives us to make choices we later regret." Malik blinked against the rising emotion, fighting off despair threatening to choke him. "No more. I won't allow fear to rule me any longer." As if reacting to his defiance, the void shifted, a sharp pain lancing through him, ripping through the fabric of his insecurities. In front of him, the specters dissolved into wisps of light, illuminating his path, but how could he step forward? How could he face the final judgment of his heart? Before he could grasp the answers, the landscape morphed again, figures emerged, distorted, twisted forms of everyone he had wronged. They stood at a distance, waiting, their faces unreadable. Malik felt himself drawn to them, an invisible thread tugging at his core. "Will you hide from them again?" the voice cooed, merciless. Each figure began to step closer, their features sharpening, desires and fears mixing. Together, they formed an impenetrable wall, a barrier between him and his redemption. Malik's breath faltered. Every step felt monumental, the weight of his choices pressing against him like a mountain. What would happen when he finally faced them? Would they help him heal or would they consume him whole? Malik. He heard a voice calling through the haze. It was Jake, disrupting the images with a jolt of urgency. You're running out of time. Panic surged in his chest as the darkness closed in again. This was it, the ultimate choice. Would he dare take another step into the light? A hand reached through the void, grasping for him. But would he accept it, or would fear plunge him back into the depths of despair? As the voices grew louder, one question rang clear: what would defeat him first, his past or his resolve? Malik felt the fingers of the shadows wrap tighter around him, urging him to retreat into the darkness. His heart raced. Jake's voice was still reverberating in his mind, a lifeline thrown into turbulent waters. The pressure was mounting, a ticking clock echoing the urgency of the moment. He could feel it. The hand that reached for him was warm, steady. With a deep breath, he reached out. The instant his hand made contact, it was as if a shockwave rolled through him, jolting him back to clarity. A sense of purpose ignited within him, eclipsing the fear that had clouded his heart for too long. I choose to face you, he shouted, his resolve erupting like a flame. The figures before him flickered, their distorted features morphing with each heartbeat. Malik's breath steadied as he stepped onto the path of illumination, the light casting shadows behind him. With every step, he felt a surge of strength, the image of Lucas's laughter cutting through the darkness. The proximity of those he had wronged now felt electric, the energy shifting as they began to transform. Maria, her tears washing away the shadows of anger, stepped closer. You abandoned me when I needed you, she whispered, her voice a haunting echo. I was scared, he admitted, feeling the weight of her sorrow like an anchor. But I'm here now. I won't run away again. The crowd around him stirred, some taking tentative steps forward while others hesitated, their eyes a mix of skepticism and hope. Malik glanced at each face. They were familiar yet foreign, painted with the colors of his failures. The air crackled, tensions rising, as if they were all connected by an invisible thread, a tapestry of pain and remorse he had woven. Do you really think you can make amends? Came a voice from the depths of the shadows. A figure emerged, a specter draped in darkness, the embodiment of his guilt. You think your words can erase the pain of the past? I don't expect forgiveness, Malik said, his voice stronger now, unyielding. I just want a chance to show I've changed. The figure recoiled, the darkness around it swirling angrily. To change is to confront what you've buried deep within. Are you ready for the truth? Malik's heart thundered. He nodded, eyes locked onto the sinister gaze of his guilt. Show me. The world tilted as he was thrust into another memory, the final argument with Lucas, words slashing like knives. Malik stood frozen, watching the moment he chose silence over support. The ache in his chest intensified, regret flooded him. You're a coward. His past self screamed at Lucas, words spilling onto the ground like shards of glass. No. I was terrified. He shouted back at his younger self. But I won't be afraid anymore. With that declaration, light erupted from within him, pushing against the shadows with fierce determination. Lucas's image shimmered, softening. You need to remember this pain, Malik. It's what will make you whole. Accept it. Malik's vision blurred as he felt an overwhelming wave of emotion crashing over him, anguish mixed with resolve. The others remained around him, watching, waiting for the moment he would shatter the chains that bound them all. The very essence of his fear intertwined with a deep-rooted desire to heal. He turned to the crowd and pleaded, help me understand. I want to learn from this. A wave of murmurs rippled through the figures. Hesitation sparked in their eyes, the flicker of recognition, of understanding. Will you stand with me? Malik cried, desperation fueling his voice. And suddenly, the darkness surged, seeking to swallow them whole. The figures braced, forming a circle around Malik. Together, they hummed with collective strength drawn from shared pain, but then the darkness took shape, morphing into something tangible, a beast born of Malik's regrets. It lunged at them, an embodiment of his guilt ready to consume everything in its path. Hold on. Jake called out, scrambling towards the fray. You can't let it win. With all he had, Malik shouted into the storm, I won't let you take any more from me. The shadows writhed and twisted, but as Malik's courage surged, so did the light from the assembled figures. Would their combined bravery be enough to drive back the dark? In that moment, as Malik faced his fear embodied, one daunting question echoed throughout: could he truly conquer the monster of his past, or would it drag him back into the void once again? The diner cracked all around them, a cacophony of reverberating desperation. Malik felt the beast of his guilt clawing at the edges of his mind, fierce and unrelenting, but he stood firm, surrounded by the spirit of support that flickered in his friend's eyes. With each thump of his heart, he pressed onward, determined to confront the darkness that threatened to engulf him. Together! Jake shouted, his voice slicing through the chaos. The faces of those he had wronged surged around him, Maria, Lucas, even the shadows of figures long lost, all lending their strength, wrapping him in their collective resolve. We won't let it win. Malik exclaimed, desperation fueling his courage. The creature roared, a sound that echoed with 1,000 fears, but Malik would not back down. You don't own me anymore. He yelled, the words ripping from his throat, raw and unstoppable. He reached deep within, pulling out every ounce of regret, every shred of guilt, shaping them into weapons of truth. I'll face you. I'll fight for the people I hurt. The darkness trembled, sensing the shifting tide. Malik felt a surge of warmth seeping into his bones, fighting back the cold grasp of despair that sought to choke him. With each declaration, each painful acknowledgement, light began to shatter the shadows, the edges of the creature's form flickering uncertainly. Come on! Jake encouraged, his voice a lifeline. The diner's walls swayed as if caught in the magnetism of their collective will. We can do this! Maria cried, stepping closer, casting off her own hesitations. We're all in this together. Malik nodded. Yes. You're all part of my healing. He stepped forward again, and the beast lunged, swiping at him with jaws filled with anguished murmurs. It barely brushed his shoulder, the impact more force than pain. Stay together! Jake yelled. The group tightened, a circle of solidarity around Malik that glimmered defiantly against the darkness. And suddenly, Malik felt the truth of their bond leaking into the spaces of his heart, filling loathsome voids that had long since festered. I'm tired of running. I'm ready to embrace every part of myself, the good and the bad. In that moment, the shadows shifted. Malik plunged into the swirling meld of memory and fear. He found images of Lucas, Maria, and the faces of those he had let down, all swirling into a tapestry woven with pain, regret, and love. That love surged like a tidal wave, crashing against the darkness. Let me carry your pain. Malik shouted, his voice echoing in courage. Let me own it. The creature recoiled, howling in fury as Malik's words became arrows of light, piercing the veil of rancid despair swirling around him. In the loud silence that followed, Malik felt the shackles dissolve. You're just shadows. I have the light to burn you away. A pulse of radiant energy burst forth from his core, illuminating the diner like sunrise breaking through the coldest night. Light erupted from every corner, banishing the shadows that had suffocated him for so long. The beast roared one last time, the sound feverishly wild, before it splintered into millions of flickering sparks and disintegrated into the ether, leaving behind nothing but echoes of strife that in the aftermath, the diner felt different. The air was lighter, filled with tentative hope. Malik stood there, chest heaving with the weight of what he had faced but unburdened at last. He looked to Jake and Maria, their expressions a mixture of relief and disbelief. We did it together, he breathed, hardly daring to believe it. The light of dawn broke outside, illuminating the diner, each ray casting away remnants of their collective dread. They were no longer prisoners of their past, they were survivors. The truth would still haunt them, but they had found a way to carry it together. Let us never lose each other again, Maria spoke softly, her eyes glimmering with fresh resolve. Malik nodded, a lump forming in his throat as emotion washed over him. No more running. As they stepped outside, soaking in the morning light that felt foreign after the darkness, they embraced, wrapped in the warmth of their newfound hope. The city around them hummed alive, vibrant, and full of promise, the weight of fear significantly lighter as they took their first steps toward healing, and as they parted ways that day, each of them carrying pieces of the dark, they understood, the past was a part of who they were, but it would not dictate their futures. They had faced the demons together and emerged stronger, and the road ahead gleamed with possibility. With smiles playing on their lips, they whispered their farewells, knowing that this was not an end, it was a beginning. Now, as the story concludes, let me remind you, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss any exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to help us feed the algorithm. Your engagement makes a difference, folks. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to hear this conclusion. Thank you for it. Let us keep the story alive.